Hello everyone, it's March 9th. It's a little bit after 12 o'clock here in Washington State, and we are the Hudson family. I'm Scott Hudson.
I'm Laura.
I'm Ella.
Hello.
Hello everybody. We've been asked to say some words about your dad, and we're going to speak from the heart, and we're going to show you a few things that we did together during the past almost 13 years of our friendship. Just so see, it's unscripted. We're just going. So our journey began, like you said, about 13 years ago when Ella was about this big, maybe this big, and she was 6 years old, and we had my grandma's piano in the house. So Ella's great grandma's piano. And we were hoping for Ella to be able to take piano lessons. And Laura found your mom online as a piano teacher. And so that's how we started. That's how we met your family. Ella was actually so small that her feet would dangle off the piano bench. And so your mom brought in a special stool so that her feet would stop moving while she played. And here she is now. She's almost 19, so we've had almost a 13 or 14-year journey with your family. It's been wonderful. So we'll get on with our with what we want to say. We're going to move around a little bit so I can show you some things, some places where your father and I went. Great, thank you. Well, welcome back. Just about 5 minutes later from our introduction. We're actually in the piano room where Ella and I both spent a lot of time practicing over the years. And I've been asked to talk about your dad and some of the things that we did together and some of the memories that I have. For those of you that don't know, I'm a retired police officer. Am I moving it? I'm a retired police officer and retired out of the military or had some military time. And most recently, I've been working as a security and safety officer at one of our schools. So it just seemed that your dad and I had almost an immediate connection when we first met. We both enjoy guns. We both enjoy talking about the military and just different things of the world. He was very up on current events in the world. So we had a lot of good discussions. We drank a lot of Bustelo coffee. Can you go get that Bustelo cup?
Yeah.
That he gave me? I'll keep talking.
Yeah.
And we had a lot of snacks throughout the past 12 or 13 years. I felt very honored to know him and your family. I really feel that Ella and finding your mom as a teacher was just such a huge blessing for us. We've had so much fun with your family. Now I think back to when I first met your dad. We were on the South 38th apartments, and when we were doing piano, I could tell that, oh, this is the Bustelo coffee. This is our favorite coffee, if you don't know. But your dad found these. He said they are now heirlooms because they don't make them anymore. So if you have one, you're supposed to put it away and don't drink coffee out of it anymore, but I'm violating that rule. Anyway, when I first met your dad, Ella was practicing piano, and I could hear somebody was in the kitchen, and there was a curtain drawn, but I could see feet moving back and forth underneath the kitchen or underneath the curtain. I had never really met your dad because I think the rules were during a piano lesson was he was not supposed to be in the room. It was a very kind of strict environment with your mom. And then a couple months later, or maybe even a couple weeks later, your dad actually came into the apartment. He had just gotten the mail, and my first view of him was he had the mail. He had a camera hanging from his neck. I think maybe even some binoculars, and a baseball cap because he'd been outside. And the first words he asked me was, "Do you believe in snipes, like the snipe bird?" And I got to tell you, I didn't, because I always thought that they were mythical and that they didn't exist. And then he started telling me about snipes and how they're real and how he hunted snipes. And then he started giving me a lot of literature on snipes and how to hunt snipes. So every time we would go over and for piano, your dad and I would take an adventure sometimes. And what we were talking about, we would discuss guns, we would discuss hunting, we would discuss food, we would discuss the Catholics, we would discuss just about anything you could think of. Towards the later years, his hearing wasn't as good sometimes. So we actually just started writing notes back and forth and exchanged notes. There's probably, I don't know how many dead trees of paper sitting around from all the notes that we passed back and forth. Sometimes I would come in and he would have reminders. Throughout the week, he would find something interesting and he would make a note and say, "For Scotty on our next meeting." And then he would send those over to me, so to speak, and we would start our discussion there. Sometimes we would just sit and watch something about nature or hummingbirds or butterflies or some kind of strange animal that he found on TV that he was fascinated with, and he'd come up with a video that he wanted me to see. But it was always interesting to have those discussions with him. Later on, we started going out to breakfast. So when I would arrive, he would always have his vest on. He would always have, I think, a camera, his hat, a bottle of water, and sometimes a little pack, because he was going out of the house and he wanted to make sure that he was ready. But our drive to get breakfast was only about 3 minutes away. It was actually took longer for him to get in our vehicle and then get out of the vehicle at the restaurant than it took for us to drive to the restaurant. But it was always a good time. He always had 2 pancakes, 2 eggs. He could not have any sausage. And so he would order sausage, but he would ask for it on a separate plate, and then he would let me have his sausage because he couldn't have pork for health reasons. So we went shooting. We're going to show you the gun range where he got to shoot a .45 again. He was very happy about that. I took him to numerous gun stores throughout the years, and probably the highlight of his visit was at a gun store where he got to hold his Remington 270 again, one of his favorite guns, or his favorite gun. And when we went into that gun store, he asked if they had the gun, and they did, but they didn't have it on display yet. And so the gentleman that helped us actually went out of his way to make sure that your dad could hold the gun and work everything on it. And I could see just so many memories and smiles on your dad's face. It was really wonderful to see that. We'll show you the store where we were, just to kind of bring some of this home to you. And then one time he was asking me about hiking, because he wanted to get out into Mother Nature again. So one hike that we went on was called Candy Mountain. Your dad made it to the trailhead sign. I think we got a picture of him. And then it took about an hour, because we probably walked that trail for maybe 100 yards or 200 yards, but he really enjoyed that. We didn't get very far, but stopping and looking at Mother Nature and the birds and the view, he was just so grateful and just had such a big smile on his face. And I remember behind us was another gentleman that was a bit elderly as well. and he was moving just a little faster than us, but eventually he did pass us. We were only maybe 200 yards up the trail, but his comment was when he came by your dad was, he said, you know, I think you're going just the right speed to enjoy this day. And your dad didn't disagree, but he was tired and he asked if we could head back to the car, and of course we did. We also went to an area where there was a lot of birds, a little lake with a trail on it, and he was able to enjoy some birds and the sounds of birds. That area is actually pretty close to our house, and we'll show you where we took him there as well. But I remember he kind of got stuck on the trail because he was tired, and I had to actually take my vehicle onto the walking path to pick him up so that he could get warmed up and return safely. But again, it's whenever we were going on a hike, even if he was only going to go, you know, maybe 20 minutes, maybe 50 yards, 100 yards, always he had snacks. He had a backpack or a small pack with snacks, water, gloves, and then he also always had his binoculars and his camera. Even if the hike was not going to be very long, he was just always so excited to get outside and do these things. We also were able to take him to, well, your whole family actually went to a larger bird sanctuary that is actually one that's recognized by Washington State and protected by Washington State. Lots of birds. We went to some different viewing areas. Julia was able to get us a wheelchair, and we were able to get your parents around and enjoy that. That was a nice day and a really nice outing. I'm sure there's just many more things that we did, just talking, and I brought him over to my house where we did our introduction because he wanted to see the sunset. And what I found most impressive about your dad really was just how much joy he took in everything. He loved hummingbirds, flowers, photography, butterflies, just the sunsets. He really took a lot of time to just enjoy the moment. And that's a good lesson that I've learned from your family as well. Enjoy the family, enjoy the moments. I remember whenever I would go somewhere kind of special, I would try to get him a hat or get him something so that he kind of felt a part of where I was going. So he ended up with kind of a decent sized collection of hats from me. And then as his memory kind of started to waver, he forgot that I had given him those hats and he thought they were mine. So when I would go over for coffee, he would point to the hats and say, "Hey, don't forget your hat." And I'd say, "No, that's your hat. It's a gift. I bought it for you." But I always had my hat and his hat. They were identical. So he would get a little confused, but he absolutely insisted that I take the hats back. So eventually I ended up with all the hats back, and then a couple weeks later I would bring them over again as a gift and give them back to him. And that so that worked out okay. But it was just a lot of fun. One time after Maite, she was there and had been there, and she was helping with your parents. He was a little frustrated with how particular Maite was with everything, and he would always say, "Well, she's an accountant, she's a bookkeeper. Everything has to be just exactly the way it, has to be her way. She just can't handle anything else." So, but actually, I never saw Maite not handling it. I think it frustrated your dad more than it did Herman. But one time, I went over there for snacks. I tried to get over there a couple times a week, and we'd have coffee and we'd have snacks. But something happened where Maite had cleaned up the table in such a particular way, and there was certain snacks I don't think we were supposed to eat, but Herman and I decided we should eat them anyway, and they were good. But we made this mess, and I asked your dad, well, are we going to get in trouble for this? And he didn't really say anything. And so a little while into it, I could see in the window behind me that Maite had shown up. And I asked him again. I said, your daughter's coming in, Herman. Are we going to get in trouble for this? Are we supposed to be eating this? And he looked over his shoulder and he looked back down at the table and he said, quick, we must eat the evidence. And we just started eating and cleaning as fast as we could. That was a good snack day. And, you know, there's many other things that I could go over, but we're going to get out and we're going to show you some of these areas. I would just want to say how honored we are as a family and how honored I am to be considered a friend of your family. Gosh, when he fell for the last time and I was asked to go over and help pick up your dad, you know, I could tell something was a little different at that time. He was very, very tired, and there was just really no way that anybody could pick him up but me or maybe Scott Shell, but he wasn't available. So I was happy to go over there and help. But we picked him up and we put him on the bed, and boy, I could tell he had really been fighting. He was much more tired than I ever remember. But I enjoyed even those moments visiting with him and your family. The whole time that he was in the hospital and then moved on to the long-term care facility, he was always able to recognize us. He also had great memories still of his family, which is the main reason why I started this. He really is proud of all of you, his entire family. I mean, kids, grandkids, great-grandkids, everybody that you married, and he had nothing but good things to say and good memories. He enjoyed the hunting, the outdoors times and camping that he had with all of you. We saw a lot of pictures from way back when of all of you together camping. And I believe those are his most cherished memories, because even towards, even the day before he passed away, I had him in the wheelchair and we were moving around the facility, and the Olympics were on, and he wanted to watch, I think it was basketball or soccer, I can't remember, but an advertisement came on about propane, and he pointed to it and he laughed, and he was talking about a camp out with hot mama and propane gas, and he was laughing about it, and it sparked a memory again of his family, and that was encouraging to me. It's been an honor to know you, and it was an honor to just to be there all the way through to when your dad passed away. Thank you. So this is Henry's restaurant off of this is Keene Road. This is one of your dad's favorite places where he liked to eat with me. We'd have breakfast here. We had a lot of breakfast here. It was a lot of fun. And in a minute, I'm going to ask Ella to pan over to the left and up a hill here. On top of the hill is a cross that your dad always noticed and would always make comments on. I don't know if you can see it in there, but I think that's one of the reasons he liked to eat here. He felt really comfortable here. So we're approaching this place called Talos, T-A-L-O-S gun store. This was another favorite place that your dad loved to go and just look at guns and hold them. He was always surprised of how many guns were out that weren't locked up. He always thought that was really interesting, but we'll show you Talos here too on our way to our other adventures. So this is Talos Gun Store. It's just a couple blocks up from Henry's. So sometimes we would go have pancakes and then we'd come look at guns. That was a good way to spend a couple hours with your dad. But this is a great gun store that he enjoyed coming into and just holding guns. If Ella pans to the right, you can see that Herman and Melvina used to live just a couple blocks over, even from the gun store. So this is a little bit of a sideline. This is where Herman and Melvina were living when we first met them. And Ella got her first lesson while they lived in the very end apartment here on the bottom floor. This is where I really learned how much your dad loved hummingbirds. Scott had a special fence, I believed, or that had a hummingbird on it for your dad. And Julia and Scott and the Shells lived just to the right there. That's how we met them. Now, when Scott and I first met, it was a little rocky, I gotta tell you, because I had dropped Ella off. This is the first time that we were in this complex, and I didn't know what to do. So I thought I'd take a little walk through the complex here. And this man, who of course later I learned was Scott, came out to me and kind of started dressing me down. He asked who I was, and of course I told him my name's Scott. And then he asked if he could help me with anything, and I said, I'm just being honest. I said, no. He goes, well, you're just walking around out here doing nothing. I said, that's true. I mean, I didn't know what to say, but I finally told him I dropped my daughter off with this lady named Mrs. Gaston for a piano lesson. And so that was kind of funny. But Scott and I are good friends, and it's good that he was protecting his properties out here. So then what we'll do is just drive around to their new house where they moved to, and Ella's lessons continued there, and I also had some piano lessons with Melvina in this house that we're going to show you, and then we'll go on. They lived on the 3800 block of, I believe it's, 3900 block of Grant Avenue, right over here. We have lots of fun times and family get-togethers here with your family. And behind that, of course, is where the Shells live. We always have a lot of fun. Well, welcome back. We're, I don't know, maybe a mile and a half from the gun store, so everything's kind of close here. But this is one of the bird sanctuary areas where I took your dad and spent time with him. You can see the sign says no motorized vehicles, but your dad kind of got stuck down there and I had to go down and get him. But Ella can pan across. Now, the hill behind us here is Candy Mountain. That's the mountain that your dad wanted to hike up. Just to give you an idea of what it looks like. We'll go up to the trail, we'll show you the trailhead. So your dad made it down from the vehicle up there, down the trail. And remember, he's carrying binoculars, a camera, a little pack with water in it and snacks again, so that we wouldn't get hungry or thirsty. And he got tired right about here. And I went ahead and went up and got the vehicle and just came down and picked him up. But he really enjoyed it. Here's a good view of Candy Mountain right from here too, with you can see now we'll go over to Candy Mountain and show you the trail there. So this is kind of the beginning of Candy Mountain Trail. Your dad really enjoyed being out here. He liked to look at the signs and see what different things were, the different kinds of animals that were out here, and especially the birds, of course. And we'll go up to where the trail starts and kind of show you where we kind of got passed by that other older gentleman. So many of you, or some of you, might have seen a picture with Herman where he was standing next to a sign that said trail. This is where we started our journey up Candy Mountain. Are you videoing? So this is about as far as we made it. It was about an hour-long journey. And your dad really enjoyed just seeing the view. At that time, there was a lot of birds up here, and he just took his time enjoying everything that he could see up here. We pointed out where his house is and where different things are, so he could get his bearings. Welcome back. The area that we're in now is called Benton County. It's not an incorporated city, but it's outside the city. It's about 20, maybe 10 miles or so from your where your parents used to live there in West Richland. This is also called the Yakima Valley because the Yakima River runs down below here. You can kind of see it off in the distance. But this is en route to the gun range where your dad got to shoot a 45. We'll be there shortly, and we'll show you, just kind of show you the gun range a little bit. So this is just the road leading into the gun range. It's called McCready Road. Our little gun range is off to the right here. You'll see it in a bit. Not much to it, but it was a good place to just come and have some fun. So I don't have the key with me to go into the range, but Herman really liked it out here. He got to shoot a 45. He was dead on, but he always complained that his finger was too short. He could only comfortably shoot, I think it was a Rock Island 1911, but he just said his fingers were too stubby for other 45s. But he was accurate with the one he used. He liked being out here too because you can see there's ample room for birds and animals out here. Oh. There's a big, is that a hawk?
I think so.
You getting him?
Yeah. Cool.
That's part of our range back in there, but there's a big hawk sitting on the tree up there. I don't know if they'll be able to see it. Mm-hmm. You see him?
Yeah.
And if you look through the trees, sometimes you'll see big nests. For some reason, the hawks are out here, but it's okay by me. But it was a fun time. We had a lot of fun out here.
Oh. Hey,
We could have Izzy, I guess.
Archie, come.
It's okay. All right.
Now I'm here. Come on.
All right. This is Archie. This is Izzy. Well, here in Washington State, it's good morning to everybody. Today is February 9th?
It's January.
What?
I mean March.
Okay.
Okay.
I think we should start over. Oh, jump.
What did I say? January?
And I said February. Let's get the right
What day
date.
is it?
March
March what?
21st is it?
But what day is it now?
Today's
The
March 9th.
Ninth.
So we're
Oh, so it's March 9th. Okay.
cut. Right.
Izzy!
She's so.
Oh,
Archie!
all right. You want to try it?
Yeah, if she gets down.
All right.
Stop! Stop! No, no.
Guys, I'll give you a cookie.
Oh my gosh, what is wrong
What
with
did he
that?
say?